This is a fan of the game basketball podcast. I love this game. Jeff loves this game. He's back. He's ready to teach us his wisdom.
Oh, I wish. Not much teaching here, just love the game, man.
Love of the game. This is so good. My friend, um, remind me, you are team basketball, right? You grew up with the team?
Yes, I mean being a Utah kid at heart, I've unfortunately a jazz kid at heart when it comes to the NBA, BYU Cougar when it comes to college side. Um, the NBA has been kind of unique. I feel like the best time for my team was a time where I wasn't alive, so I'm
Mm.
trying to come to terms with that. We did have a few of those glory years with Spida and Rudy. I really like what they're trying to do now. I like the coaching staff. I like the young guns that they've got, but it's just not quite enough yet.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to believe in the process, like the Thunder fans had to do with their team. I hope that we're along a similar, plan, but I think it's not quite our year yet.
Yeah. Keontae George is a great player though.
He's great. Laurie Markkinen's great. Um, I even like Ace Bailey. There's a lot of young pieces that could really turn around. Uh, I just don't know if this group really knows what its like identity is yet.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know. At least right now, I don't know if I'm like totally like buying the Keontae George identity for our team like we did with Spida. I feel like
Mm.
people are like, oh, he's like the second version of him, and I just don't feel like that's the right move yet. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. It's a little early for me still just to completely jump on that bandwagon, but
Yeah.
he is really good.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll circle back later on some of your points there when we talk more about the state of the game. But just a privilege to talk to you about a lot of great topics we have for today, and a little bit of fun later with a different version of this or that.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, let's talk, man. Let's talk about this game that we
Yes.
love. Some controversy on December
Love
27th,
love
2025.
controversy. We love controversy.
The Milwaukee Bucks got Giannis back into the lineup. You know, he's probably my second favorite player in the league right now. If LeBron was by now retired, probably Giannis would be my favorite. But he did something that caught attention for a little bit. It sizzled away, but it got me thinking about this unwritten rule we have in the NBA. The final score was 112-103.
Okay.
And he dunks this ball in a spectacular fashion. I'm gonna read you this quote verbatim so YouTube doesn't get mad at us.
There we go. Good
Um,
call. We don't want more controversy from this podcast.
right. We're 11th in the East. Got to keep finding an identity. Now that's to get a little bit of scrappy at the end, so be it. We're not champs. We play the clock out and have respect and fair play. We're fighting for our lives right now. So I'm not interested per se a lot in what he said, but more in what he did.
Hmm.
You know, I was listening to a lot of people who do this type of topic better, and there was a lot of what's the word when someone is being kind of like nonchalant with something, not hypocritical. Shoot, I'm forgetting the word.
Oh, I know what you're trying to say. Not less like careless by any
Hmm.
means. Just kind of like ungenuine, kind of in the flow.
Yeah, they're like making poking fun at it, but not being true at it. It's at the tip of my
Yeah,
tongue. Um, and it just get their way of phrasing it, their way of making fun of it, caught my attention. And so let's talk about this unwritten rule in the NBA. It's not like that game. I can't pinpoint the game where the young kid is like they're blowing out this other team, and KD and Steve Kerr are on different ends of the Golden State Warriors bench telling this kid you don't do that when you're blowing out
yeah.
a team. So what are your thoughts on the unwritten rule?
Um, my opinion actually might change compared to others. I think it means nothing.
Hmm.
I I think when guys get all upset about it, it's what you're paid to do. So play harder. I actually love Giannis's mentality, especially. if he feels like that his team is lacking in that realm, then as a leader, he's kind of showing we won't play that way. I think Kobe was a great example of that when they played in the Olympics in 2012, and he played up against his former teammate and current teammate at that time, Pau Gasol, who was on the Lakers. And Kobe sent a message first play. He ran straight through Pau Gasol on a screen. For those who watch the documentary, it's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. And I know you're a Lakers fan to a degree. I grew up hating Kobe being a Jazz fan, but now that he's
Mhm.
passed, you kind of have to come to respect the way he played the game and how he his demeanor throughout the game. And the game lacks that a lot, in my opinion. Like team aside, like you're my friend, but like today we're not friends and we're gonna destroy you kind of mentality. And I really miss that kind of error. I feel like that kind of passed with Kobe, unfortunately. And maybe we're getting back to that a little bit. I haven't seen it quite yet, but if there's anyone that might be doing it, it could be Giannis, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So for dudes to get all upset about it, I mean, to be honest, go cry me a river somewhere else. Especially when my team needs to see like we're not taking like there's no seconds wasted in a game.
Mhm.
And I think during the regular season especially, um, that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Now, there are other unwritten rules that I do agree with. For example, in the playoffs, it is cordial to shake hands with every player once the series is over.
Mhm.
So if you watch the games, you'll see each playoff team, they'll kind of just leave the court right when the game's over. But then once that final game ends, you kind of go and have that camaraderie that is wanted in the game. Um, and when teams don't do that, to me, that's more disrespectful because it's just a lack of respect for what your opponent did. And whether you won or lost, it's just like respect each other, respect the game, go take a quick chance to congratulate each other and move on. In college basketball, you have the shaking hands line.
Mhm.
I mean, if they got rid of that, I don't think it would be the end of the world. But to me, those are the kind of unwritten rules I would probably agree with more. But when it comes to like playing to the last second, I don't really care. Do I think it's more respectful if they dribble out the ball? Absolutely, you know. And if I was being a team by zero, I'd probably do that. You know, if I was being a team by like 30 points, I'd probably do the same thing. But to me, that's more humiliating than just not playing at all.
No, I think I tend to side with you because I think the word I was trying to find is this kind of like sarcasm-y approach
Oh,
to.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And it's like, okay, so you're not really telling me besides that you're kind of upset about how he was handling the situation. And that's more because they're focusing on what he said rather than what he did.
Hmm.
And, picking and choosing, that can be a different philosophical conversation for the game of basketball. But I'm just the kind of person that thinks, look, he hadn't played in however long of time. We're not just going to say because it's Giannis, Giannis can get away with it. There's so many things that even the biggest stars got away with that you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah,
But
that's a conspiracy for another day.
yes, yes. But I think there was anywhere between 20 to 60 seconds left on the clock. There was still plenty of time to play. Or are you getting all relaxed when there is still time to play? And he hadn't played. He was excited. He was just going to go score a dunk.
Yeah,
Statement. Cool. I'm like you. I'm not bothered by it one bit. I did want to chat about it because I think what he did was more, hey, there's still time left on the clock. If you don't want to guard me, you chose not to guard me.
yeah, 100%.
Play.
And Frank, and yeah, play it out, and maybe the game's over, but like we do this for the fans too, and like the fans don't love seeing that either. At the end of the day, it's entertainment.
Mhm.
And I think he is doing what he can to pull his team out of the ditch,
Mhm.
even if his heart's not fully in Milwaukee, which I do believe he might be gone eventually from Milwaukee. I appreciate him giving his all every time he steps on the court for
Yeah.
the team.
I think that's the message of any rule, especially the rule to play, you know, don't just quit, play, play
Hmm.
as much as you can. So, but speaking of people leaving, Giannis is
Yeah.
on my list of our conversation about specific trades. Um, let's talk about trades, man. I just said that
Yeah.
twice, but there's the business side of basketball, which I love your business acumen mindset. So having your pick your brain on that would be pretty important. And then the other part I want to talk about trades is just the impact of a trade on a person and to the personnel. You know,
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
the person that strikes me is AD.
Hmm.
He's in trade rumors, he's in trade talks. Sure, when you look at the business side of basketball for him, and I'll let you speak a little bit more on that. He's just expecting a big contract. Most big players are, right, playing long in the league.
Hmm.
But I would say to me, what's interesting is you're talking about a person too, right? That's what I'm talking about, like
Yeah.
impact to a person, and then we'll talk about personnel. But he got traded in the most inconceivable trade of
Yeah, terrible.
of ever, and you're already thinking about trading him again. That must be hard for some of these players. Maybe some, not so much, like maybe Trae, who's kind of like, I'm open, let's go, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about. But give me some of your lowdown on those two things, and then we'll talk about these one, two, three, four, five big players that they're talking about during this trade deadline.
Yeah, it's really unique. And again, we don't really fully comprehend this because we're nowhere near being in a trade block ourselves. It's not like we're putting ourselves up on for auction and doing something like that. But AD's is kind of unique because I think if he would have had it his way, he would have retired a Laker. And I think Luca clearly wanted to stay in Dallas. We can get into conspiracies of all that later on, not for this podcast. And I think it's kind of a two-way street. I think what's really intriguing, and this is something that you learn kind of I learned a little bit about this in school, but just having worked with some high-level executives at the company I work at, there's something called executive management, where on the surface you show that you're like a unit, like a full functioning team that loves each other, they're best friends. And sometimes the reality of it is that's not the case at all. In fact, you might hate each other, but you are paid to play the game. And I don't think that's necessarily the case in Dallas, but to me, I don't see AD as valuable as he might think he is,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So it's hard in this situation to say, is this him and his agent trying to get out of a situation where he's just kind of in the way? I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas is trying to dump him for other assets because Dallas is playing really good right now and he's not doing a lot for them because he's
Mhm.
not playing, you know? And the name is attractive, and when he is healthy, he is incredible. I don't think any of us are going to deny that he's not a spectacular player when he's not playing. Um, so you kind of have to come from it with like a business perspective. Like there's certain guys I wouldn't want to play with, just from like an ego standpoint. Let's be honest, actually, probably all of them have some kind of ego, but there's
Mhm.
certain egos that just really stick out. For example, playing with Kobe is probably got to be really challenging because he's
Mhm.
just a personality that demands the highest level of attention. And there are certain players that played really well with Kobe, and there are certain players that did not. For example, one of my favorites of all time is Steve Nash. When he teamed up with Kobe, they were atrocious. They were so bad as a team.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's because either one of them had egos. It just wasn't the right fit. And do I think Anthony Davis with the Mavericks is the right fit? I do not believe so.
Mhm.
And I think he feels that, and I think the Mavericks feel that. So that's why I feel like in this situation, it's probably more of a mutual separation. But again, maybe we're not like it's hard to see the full picture, especially when they try to keep that stuff because you want to cheer for a team that's unified. So who knows what the locker room is really like? Um, there are certain players that have noticeably been locker room issues, allegedly. For example, Draymond Green is someone who has been historically one of those locker room guys, but I think he's kind of one of those only other individuals that really demands the best out of people too. He just doesn't know how to control himself. Um, but I'm curious to hear what your take is on it. That's kind of how I feel, specifically with Anthony Davis. But you know, from my eyes, it just seems like they're trying to find the best win-win scenario. I would love to see Anthony Davis go back to the Pelicans, retire where he was before. I think that'd be pretty dope.
I never thought of it the way you said about teams and players feeling like they know that they're in the way. I never thought of that perspective. I think that's kind of eye-opening when I think about trades. Because when I think about building a team, right? I've been doing a lot of homework. I finally got around to
Mhm.
watching The Last Dance, and I've been watching a lot more documentaries and stuff. And I think of the
Mhm.
Thunder. You mentioned the Thunder earlier. It's how do you build a team, right? And
Yeah.
post, I want to say 2010, the league, the league, I think to me, and we'll get into this, I think the league changed after the Bulls dynasty ended, like
Yeah.
completely.
Mhm.
And something that really impacted that is that late 2000s era with the whole concept of super teams, how that affects, the apron, how that affects money, all that type of stuff. But I'm always talking about how do you build team chemistry? Like your team has to get along, right?
Yeah.
And what you're saying is like maybe there is something more to not just getting along. Maybe he gets along great with everybody, but on a
Yeah.
basketball court, they don't get along, right?
Mhm.
They're not the right fit. And especially if you're trying to build around Cooper Flag, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the personnel aspect that I think I wanted to drive home with. But that's a
No, and that's a wonderful point
yeah.
because maybe Anthony Davis understands that it's Cooper's time,
Mhm.
and if he's playing, he feels like he should be the one, and it still can't be the one. And if he can't be that at the Mavs, then he would rather do that with the time he's got left. I can see that point entirely.
Yeah. And I think. I'm always like playing this game, like who'd you get drafted by? Who would you win a championship with? Who'd you get traded to? Who'd you end your career
Hmm.
with? And I have this thing about maybe ending your career at home. Like that's where I get the Jazz a little sauce. If I was that good, maybe I come home to play type thing. Because there's something about being at
Yeah,
home. So
yeah,
maybe AD going to Chicago, living his last years in Chicago would be
that'd
kind
be
of cool for
cool
that team. Maybe he could be that veteran helping out this team, but I'm not sure if he wants to win another one. You never can really not tell, and not by any means like they're not fighting for a championship because I think everyone should be fighting for a championship.
for sure.
So
Yeah,
I'm not speaking in that regard about AD saying that he doesn't want to. I'm just thinking, where else would you go? Like who else is going to give him the money?
right, for sure. Oh, that's I again, I think you hit it right on the head because of the personnel standpoint too. I think, and he might know he has a time clock for his own sake and his own body, so he's trying to like start kind of calculating how much time he's got left and what he wants to do with it.
Yeah. We're not involved in the locker room. We're not those scouts. We don't know what's going on. And at
Yeah,
one point I was reading an article that was saying like Kyrie wasn't happy with the move, but now Kyrie's okay, right? But Kyrie has been trying to take peace of mind, recovering for his body and stuff. So like I don't know what these players really think behind the scenes, especially nowadays.
especially one like Kyrie because he's never kind of on the same foot, right?
I would have loved to see all of them play together, but I was just saying about certain things you just wish you could have seen, right? Seeing
For sure.
Kyrie and AD and like actually show what they could do because I think the Mavericks have a solid team, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but that being said, I don't know how to put all these trade packages together. You're thinking Pelicans, I'm thinking Bulls. Let's talk about Trae for a second. Not even get into the nitty-gritty with him because that's not where I think the conversation about him is going comparatively to AD. But it's for someone in his shoes, he's been in a franchise a long time and it's just not converted to anything. Is that a
Hmm.
different like, well, that's a mutual understanding we haven't produced, so it's time to move you?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of like the same thing with Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz. I think at some point you have to let the player, and the Jazz one was hard for me, especially because I think we could have run it back at least one more year and given it a shot.
Hmm.
But I feel like the Hawks haven't moved anywhere near where the Jazz were.
Yeah.
Like the Jazz got to be the number one seed in the West and couldn't get it done. The Hawks, have they ever been like higher than like a sixth seed? I don't have any stats on me, but I don't
No.
recall the Hawks ever. The Hawks are even more relevant now, and they're like a 10th seed. So I mean, I I feel like the Hawks are doing themselves a disservice having him on a team, to be honest.
Yeah. Where do you think they send him? There's not a lot of there's talks about the importance of a point guard and the importance of a point guard who's And the game has changed so much that you need to shoot the ball. But
Yeah,
do they send him away for assets so that he just continues to play? Like you could always send him to Sacramento.
Sacramento's a good place to dump him, unfortunately, for Sacramento. Um, I think it boils down to like what they feel like they need in return.
Mm,
Like the Trailblazers to me could be an attractive spot because they have someone like Drew Holiday that
mm,
could come in and be that substitute, like that next point guard for them. And I think it's hard because you need to find like a true point guard, in my
mm.
opinion. Like there was reasons why the Suns got as far as they did with Chris Paul versus the Mavs who got stopped with Luca. Because I think Luca's incredible, but I think Chris just kind of moves, facilitates the team in such a way. So where I feel like Trae is kind of like LaMelo Ball, where both are incredibly talented, and I wish I could play ball like they do, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're helping the team win.
Yeah,
They're just really good at what they do.
yeah. And I
Um,
think Drew is like underrated, so that would be an interesting trade. And like you're talking about, like we're talking about, you're looking at trades in a way of trying to build a team together. Like I know you can't. I know that the Thunder probably traded here and there, signed here and there, because
yeah, they were really smart
Caruso
about it.
Caruso wasn't born with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was put on the
No,
team,
yeah.
you know.
Hmm. Great piece, by the way.
Yeah, Caruso's
Incredible.
solid. It's okay. We'll forgive him for not defending Devin Booker.
Oh yeah, we'll give them grace. They won it last year. That's his grace.
Um, uh, is Draymond getting traded?
I don't know. And the only reason why I say that is because there's the rumors of him being traded have been long and far. And I think when Clay got traded, it was because he also wanted out, where I feel like Draymond still deep down wants to stay. So it's kind of one of those weird things where I don't honestly know. Um, Plus, I think he would want to retire at Golden State. But again, I'm just thinking out of my head. I don't know how much ball he's got left. I don't know any of that. He's one of those guys that the name keeps swapping around where I just don't see it happening yet. Do I
Yeah,
think he should be traded? Probably, just because I think that it's time to reeuthanize that team and build
yeah,
around Steph while you got him. But maybe that's part of the issue too, is that Steph wants him there still. So who
right.
knows? Who knows? But that's a really interesting one for me, to be honest.
Where does Kuminga go? Because I know they've been trying real hard to move that chess piece.
He's a
Is-
really interesting one because he's really talented, but he's young. He's kind of raw still. Like he's gonna go to a place. For example, I feel like when Michael Porter Jr. went to the Nets, it's kind of when he finally is starting to showcase like what the dude is capable of. And I feel like whatever team he goes to next will kind of either make or break him. Like he'll either become the breakout star he's going to be, or he's gonna fizzle away a little bit. Maybe the Raptors. I don't know why that just seems like a team that has the kind of pieces that the Warriors would want in return for a player like Kuminga. Like I could see RJ Barrett on the Warriors for some weird reason. I don't think it's a great fit, but I could totally see it. Um, or like the Warriors dump a lot of guys and try to bring in Scotty Barnes to be their power forwards that he get Draymond maybe, or like they do Kuminga and some draft picks and they bring in a guy like Scotty Barnes to do like one last run for the championship with Steph. I actually would really like to see that personally play out, but I don't know. It's such a unique position with the Warriors. The Warriors are kind of like in a really, really, really weird spot, in my opinion, when it comes to the trading. I don't know if you feel differently or have other guys that you're benign on with that one, but that's kind of a team that comes to mind.
Mm. No, I feel for the Warriors because I love Steph. Steph is one of my favorite players, and just to be out of championship picture for the last what 3 to 5 years, maybe if that's the right amount of math,
Yeah,
that's rough. And it's just literally him, and then I would say it's Jimmy Buckets,
yeah,
and then literally nobody else.
yeah, I would agree.
Draymond, sure, being heart and soul of the team type thing, but and I don't know if this is the thought that comes to your mind whenever I think of sad music, and then I think of like Steph catching the ball and then a quick release. to his splash brother, but he's not there. There's like that clip where he throws the
Yeah,
ball and it goes out of bounds.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's needing that, missing that. So if he could find that in a Scotty Barnes or in a I just don't know how much the Warriors really have left. You
I
know,
don't either. Yeah, I think their time has kind of come and gone.
yeah. And then just for funsies, I have Giannis on my list here, and I know where I would
Oof.
like him, but
Oh, I see. Can I
I
hear can I hear your take on that, by the way? To like how he would fit in with that team.
oh man, so I'm gonna put it this way. Do you see like the they talk about the people who have the package for Giannis? If we're even able to talk about package anymore, because no one wants to give up their package for a superstar player anymore. It's not
Right.
happening, right? Like look at the Spurs, for example,
Hmm.
like where they have the assets to move them. Of course, I wouldn't move Giannis to the Spurs because look who they're building. So they have kind of like a Thunder-esque
Yeah, they
situation
have a
there.
Thunder-esque feel. Yeah.
They got Wemby and they moved, I think, a solid point guard that fits with that team. I don't
Hmm.
think Wemby fits with Giannis, in my opinion.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
So why would the Spurs make that move if they're already beating the Thunder?
Right.
You know, if Wemby's already going to do things. The reason I like the Knicks fit is, I would have to see how you could do it financially, right?
Who would you
Oh,
get rid of?
I don't want to get rid of Hart.
Yeah.
Um, I think you would have to do Bridges or OG or both.
Okay.
And I don't think I
And
would
Cat.
want I don't but and Cat
And
well yeah you unfortunately you would have to move Cat.
yeah.
And that's just because of a money perspective. If you could keep Cat, then the thing is right now, since the NBA Cup, they've sunk in disbelief.
Hmm.
Defensively, they've gotten injuries. The Pistons are up and coming, so there's a lot going on. And I think when you move somebody like Giannis onto a team like that, I see it like I was going to say Oscar Robertson, but that's not how I was thinking. I was seeing it like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thing, where
Yeah.
star player comes and basically changes the team,
Hmm.
and I think because of just how Giannis is and where he fits on the floor, that Jalen Giannis duo would be something to be seen. Now, I can't speak to championship caliber because I didn't expect that from the Thunder.
Yeah.
And while I'm happy for the Thunder, I didn't expect the Indiana Pacers to take them to a game seven.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Pacers now. They're the last team in the league because Halliburton's out.
Right. So I still think in a way that the Knicks can be a better team than those Pacers that made it. And I would significantly think any team right would get better if you had Giannis on it. I just think Giannis works on the Knicks. I just don't know how you do it, like the whole financial part of it.
Yeah. No, I get that. And obviously, Giannis and a big market team would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Um, the NBA would make that move happen
Mhm.
in a conspiracy like way for sure.
Hey, how did you get the first round pick, Dallas?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, no, I think Giannis, the only way it works, whether it's like an off-season signing or it would have to be a package deal like that. I think the Knicks definitely have the personnel to do it. It's kind of like, do you trust the Knicks personnel currently to make it happen?
Mm,
Where I like the Knicks is I think they have a few guys, for example, like the Josh Harts that are willing to put in. You kind of have to have that one guy that's willing to kind of go crazy for your team. So, for
mm,
example, Thunder have Caruso. When I'm talking like an all defensive player, first or second team guy has to be on your team
mm,
to win this, like the championship. I did not think the Pacers had it. The Thunder did, and that's why I think the Thunder won.
mm,
And maybe the Pacers did, and I can't remember who it was, but Caruso to me was like the guy, right?
mm.
And I think Josh Hart for the Knicks is that, but Giannis is that for like I think you get that with Giannis. Um, so I'd be really curious to see, you know, if they were to package that, you would have to get rid of Cap because those two together in the paint just would not work.
No.
But um, I could see him going to a West team. I could see, oh man, it would be kind of crazy, but I could see a team like Denver,
Oh man.
or I don't see that kind of working, but I'm just trying to think of teams that have been there and done that and are trying to get back to there. I don't think that Denver would ever dump someone like Jokic, but caliber like teams like that. Like I don't see teams from small markets trying to make that jump, like the Sacramentos, the Washingtons, the Portlands, the Pacers. Um, in the wildest world, I could see him potentially going to a team like the Knicks or Boston because of a package deal like that, where like Boston tries to dump Porzingis and Derek White and a few like Bicks, and then it's like Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Giannis.
Mhm.
Let's see how this works out, but it's hard. The funny thing about Giannis is I really just can't picture him on a different team. But
Mhm.
maybe the dark horse team out of all of this is the LA Clippers.
No, not the Clippers, man. No, don't. You know how much I don't like the Clippers. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. You back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
I
you.
feel like they would be a team that would try to pull strings to make that happen. And I could see Giannis wanting to play in LA, but I don't see him with the Lakers. But I
Mm.
could totally see him with the Clippers. And I think the Clippers have enough scoring pieces and legitimate contenders. The only other team I could think of is maybe Miami, where they
Mm.
would dump Bam Adebayo and maybe Norman Powell, bring in
Mm.
Giannis to partner with like Tyler Hero and stuff. It's the only teams I can really see. The only teams in my mind that make it seem legit.
Like, I think the deal is so big, or maybe not that big that we're thinking of. Because what are you willing to give up for Mikal Bridges? What are you willing to give up for Kevin Durant type thing?
Yeah.
And we're talking about personnel, we're talking about team fit. I don't think Giannis fits on the Clippers.
Hmm.
Like him himself. Like I don't think that's him, you know. And to play with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, I feel like they would want to restart if they sent Giannis over there. And then with Miami, Miami's interesting because you got Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in my opinion. But I think the only thing that the Miami Heat really have is Tyler Hero.
Hmm.
And then if Giannis wants to win another chip and he's not per se ring chasing, he just wants to win, I think you would have to find that winning situation. But like with what you're saying, where is that winning situation without dumping so much?
Hmm. For sure.
And so I can see what you mean by certain people having certain assets. I'm thinking what would be really cool for Shams to report is a multi-team interaction.
Yeah, the three-way trades and stuff like that. Those ones that honestly could be probably the only way to make it happen.
Yeah. And Giannis saying, "Hey, I want to be a Knick."
Yeah, for sure. Which wouldn't be surprised by that either, to be honest.
Yeah. I just in all good faith, I just think the Knickerbockers are just it's an 82 game season. It's an 82 game season.
Yeah, at this point, get to the playoffs and let it play out from there. They're the third seed right now. Just
Yeah.
keep playing, stay in that
Stay
hunt.
focused.
Keep home if they keep home court advantage, I think they have a really good chance for the
Yeah.
East.
And I respect the Bucks. I just don't like this whole idea of dumping your future away just to get pieces that could fit but don't get you anywhere.
Neither do I. I've never seen it work yet.
Yeah.
So until it works, I would be proven otherwise.
Yeah. But speaking about that, we've kind of come to that point where we need to talk about the state of the game, our little state of the game segment. And this question's been on my mind. How do we keep the game alive and well, right? We talked about it before, and we talk about it with a lot of our basketball peeps. But the perspective that's been really on my mind, and I probably talked about it last time, so I think it's important enough to bring it back up. But when you are raised with a team or you follow a team, you feel it.
Hmm.
Since I have favorite players and they play on certain teams and I have certain ties to certain teams, when I try to get invested, I get frustrated, run away when they're losing and stuff. But I think
Hmm.
that's a way to keep the game alive and well is to dedicate yourself to a team because then you can actually feel the fight.
Hmm.
But I think since the Bulls were broken up and the Spurs kind of took over and the Lakers had their three-peat and you had some sleepers in there like the return of the Pistons and stuff. But once you get into the LeBron Steph era, I feel like the game has changed so much that unless you are a true fan of your team, the NBA can kind of seem long is a dull word, but long because of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, what do we do, man? Like the All-Star game, this is it. We may not get it for a long time, right? Or they just keep doing it regardless. The NBA Cup needs time because people aren't giving it the respect that I think it should merit, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But what do you think the league needs? I know there's expansion. I'm not saying basketball is dead, but I just feel
Mm.
that this long dullness, this laziness from players, not every player, right? But
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
No,
You know
for
what I'm
for
saying.
sure. I know what you're saying. I don't know if there's like a perfect answer. And I've thought
Yeah.
about this too. Like, do you condense the season so that it's less time? I think the season might be starting a little too early because I feel like when it's prime NBA time, it's April because all the other sports are done. So now it's just the NBA and that's all I've got.
Mhm.
And I will admit, I really enjoyed watching the playoffs last year.
Mhm.
Is one of the reasons why I struggle with baseball. I think the World Series are super fun to watch, but I can't watch 120 baseball games. But that's obviously a huge revenue for the team and for the NBA as a whole. Um, so the All-Star game is a joke. There's really no fix to that right now until there's guys that are willing to like show up and play the game like good old pickup basketball just for the pride of being a better team, kind of like the olden days, then I don't think we're gonna have that back for a long time. Um, or you change the All-Star game where you give them like notice and reward them for their efforts, but then they maybe coach other teams and then you have like another, I don't know. There's really not much to fix there, but
Yeah.
I think the NBA Cup's a decent idea. I hate the color core thing, just keep it how it is. Um, maybe it's I think it's cool that like the Knicks won that. They got their first championship. Congratulations to the Knicks. The hard thing is like they're trying to make it more like soccer. You know how like soccer has multiple different tournaments
Mhm.
to try to keep it intriguing, but then there's like the tournament. Um, it's what it really reminds me of. They're like trying to parlay or copy the idea of what soccer does, where you have your individual tournament, but then you have the Champions League, right? The Champions League is like the big dogs come to play, and then that's when like soccer gets really, really, really intriguing. Um, my only thought is if you really want more interaction, but I'm guessing the NBA has no issue with it right now. At least like maybe views are down, but stadiums are still being filled, and that's why I believe the whole Cooper Flag thing was kind of um, or like the Luca trade was kind of a conspiracy because that was a way the NBA tried to spike views and spike ratings and spike stuff. And I do think we have a lot of young talent coming into the NBA that's going to be changing the league really quickly. I think guys that are a little bit more, not necessarily just talented, but more mindset. Like I think Cooper Flag doesn't care as much about the publicity. I think he really just wants to win.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the talent coming out of college is really good. And I even love the European play. I think the European players bring a lot of competitiveness to the league that has been missing for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, Again, kind of why I like Giannis. Um, so my only thought is maybe condensing the league to maybe 70 games, or you have to redefine like your conferences and what the conferences mean. Because
Mhm.
right now, conference play is unimportant. There is no real importance to conference play.
Mhm.
Like, yes, it does give you, I think, an automatic bid, but like the way the NFL has it set up, I think for playoff structure is actually pretty well done, where your division winners each get a playoff berth, but your top two division winners are like the first and second seed.
Mm,
Though that's unfair, I do think that would kind of spice up some of those conference games. Because between you and me, I couldn't tell you what the biggest rivalry in the basketball is right now. Like, I just think, like, yes, on the court they might play competitively, but like, I don't think no one plays the Lakers and just hates the Lakers,
mm,
or you know, no one plays Boston and just hates Boston. It just kind of all feels a little showy. Um,
mm.
so I don't know. What is your take on it?
I mean, like just being a fan of the game, I love these type of conversation because it just really makes you think about the sport that you love and the things that you'd like to see, you know. And I really think like the thrill is missing.
Hmm.
Unless you're like a true fan of the team, which I try to be, but I'm not there because I follow players. But like being in the stadium, seeing your team win, that must be an exciting feeling, right?
Hmm.
And Adam Silver can do everything he can, right? But I guess there isn't an answer I'm specifically looking for. I'm just trying to make the conversation happen so that the NBA can still exist, that the NBA can. I know the NBA is bigger than this podcast, right? But it's more
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm seeing this decline of want, hungriness,
yeah.
and I'd like to see it again. To be completely honest, I think if the All-Star game was kind of like back in the day, I think I'd enjoy the All-Star game more, right?
Hmm.
If you gave me a king of the court, I think I'd be really excited to see that.
Yeah.
And you could make it categorially where like it's point guards versus point guards and forwards versus forwards. So it's not like Wemby versus
Honestly, in my opinion too, I think the winner of the East or West game should have home court advantage in the finals.
That'd be great.
If you really like, instead of adding reward to the All-Star game, add consequence.
Yeah.
But there's no way they would ever do that.
I mean, I'm thinking Adam Silver, think about that.
It would be better better whatever than whatever he's done already.
Yeah. But I think that's a good combo. We'll put a pin in it for now and keep talking about it so we can keep the game alive and well. So let's play a game. Let's play who
Let's
you got.
let's play a game.
So we're gonna start with players. I got
Okay.
three sets for you. Some of these I already put on social media. And the rules are basically, sure, you can talk about stats, you can talk about talent, but in a one-on-one game, who you taking? Who you taking? Who you got? Who you got? Russell Westbrook. Is he called the triple double king? Is that
Yeah.
what his name is?
Yeah.
Versus Derrick Rose, prime Derrick Rose, MVP Derrick Rose.
Okay.
Who you got, Jeff?
I'm going to take Russell
Take Russell. Okay.
just from a pure physicality standpoint. I think Derrick Rose might have been a better player in his prime, but I think when it just comes to one-on-one, got to step up on defense, or because from an athletic standpoint, I think they're fairly equal, but I think Russell just out sizes Derrick, out rebounds Derrick, out defends Derrick. Um, I think Derrick is better on the offensive side, but I think Russell just kind of take him down the paint.
Cool. I like your take. Next up, the quadruple MVP. Just kidding. The three-time Jokic MVP
Okay,
versus Tim Duncan.
Jokic.
Jokic. All right, that was easy, straightforward for you.
Pretty straightforward. Tim Duncan's incredible. Jokic would spread the floor on him more than I think. And who knows, maybe Tim would be able to lock him down. I just think Jokic is probably going to go down as like the second best center to play the game.
Hmm. Who's the first?
I have, well, when I say best, I think just talent wise.
Oh, okay.
When I come to like who's the best ever played a position, I would probably you have to give the nod to Bill Russell or Kareem, who is the best talent wise or just most unstoppable is Shaq, who's the most talented, it's Jokic.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like there's the best, unstoppable, and then talented. So I think Jokic is the most talented. Shaq was the most unstoppable. But if you have to go best, you have to go Bill Russell.
Mhm. Okay, gotcha. Last two you got for players, I got Shea Gillius. I can't say his name, so I just call him Shea
Yeah.
versus
hmm
Steph.
Shea.
That's
Only
a
because he's bigger, and I don't think Steph could stop him.
that's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
Yeah, but one-on-one's interesting. When you got a full court, the game kind of opens up. If we're talking just like pure team basketball, I would take Steph. Like
Mhm.
5-on-5, but every player stinks except for Shea and Steph. Whose team is going to win? I would pick Steph.
Mhm.
Because I think Steph gets open because he utilizes the core so well, and his engine is unstoppable. So he's always running, he's always playing. Where Shea is an ISO guy through and through, so he's gonna ISO you up, try to beat you off the dribble. Where that's not Steph's game at all. Can he do
Make
it? Yes.
make refs call fouls that don't exist.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why one-on-one is such an interesting conversation because I think one-on-one is completely different than
Five on
basketball.
five. Yeah.
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 I think, you know, if I had to go like 2025 Thunder versus Golden State in 2015, I'm taking Golden State by a landslide.
Mhm.
Though I think the Thunder are very good, I don't think they're nowhere close to that. Okay, the Warriors team with KD and Steph and Clay, Draymond, the whole team was just ridiculously stacked. That's the best team I've still seen play to this day.
2015. Yeah. That's cool.
What if that's the year with KD? Whatever was the first year with the second year with KD, where
2018.
KD was it 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, that year was the best year, like the best team I've ever seen play basketball.
I got them in our next in one of your who you gots for
Oh, cool.
teams. So
Okay, the teams. Okay.
all right. So
Well, you know
this
my
first
answer
one,
there then too.
yeah, I probably do. The second one isn't as engaging in my opinion, but I put it on there just for you. I think I was thinking about you today. So this first
Mhm.
one I like. This first one I like a lot. So who you got championship teams, okay? And yeah, you can think about, personnel and all that type of stuff, but game 7 series, who's winning game 7? Conversation with my sister about it. So I have my opinion, but the
Mhm.
2025 Oklahoma City Thunder
Okay.
versus the 2006 Miami Heat.
Interesting. So this is the Heat team with Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Alonzo Mourning. I will take the Thunder.
Whoa, okay.
I just think they are a more complete team in this regard.
Hmm.
Though, if we're talking Lakers, Shaq, like he was still pretty unstoppable with the Heat, but I don't think he was quite the Shaq with Kobe as he was with Dwayne,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like to me, Kobe and Shaq were Harlem hand in hand, but to me, it was very much Dwayne Wade's team
Yeah.
when he was with Shaq. Um, so I will give the Thunder the nod on that one,
Okay.
but it sounds like you would give the Heat the nod on
Yeah,
yours.
I had a lot of fun having this conversation with my sister because she's a diehard Chicago fan, but she's like a diehard Dwayne Wade fan.
I
And
love Dwayne.
so
Yeah.
uh, I think the reason it goes 7 games is because the Thunder are so talented. But I just
hmm
think in the end, Shaq and D Wade just lock up. I think to me, it reminds me of an 88-87 game, a
Yeah.
76, 75 game.
It would not
Sorry.
be like the high scoring games that we see in days now.
No, it would not be a 130 point game. It would be to the wire. I would play that. I mean, not 2K it. I would visit. I would be there.
Yeah, I see that. I would say if you had to pick the best player on the court, it would be Wade.
Hmm.
So if it came down to a final shot and it was like between Shea or Dwayne Wade shooting it, like yeah, the Heat would win in my opinion. I just don't
Yeah.
know if the Heat. To me, I don't know if the Thunder would make it. I think the Thunder could win it earlier, but
Yeah.
it's a good question.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. Here's this last one for you, because I think this team gets a lot of, at least when as close as I was paying attention to the NBA at this time, the 2024 Boston Celtics is a team that people like to bring up or
Hmm.
underrate, right?
Hmm.
Because apparently the Celtics were going to win back-to-back championships if that team stayed healthy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the 2024 Boston Celtics versus the 2018 Warriors.
And I'll take the Warriors.
Yeah.
Um, Celtics, in my opinion, is probably one of that specific team is if you're going to play the trade game, is how you perfectly draw up a team with trades.
Mm.
Where like the Warriors, yes, they brought in Kevin Durant, but they were already like the dynasty team already before
Mhm.
that. They just became utterly unstoppable once KD joined them. Um, but they did a lot of theirs through free agent signings and trading
Mhm.
like for core players, but their core players, the Draymond, Steph, and Clay were all drafted there.
Yeah.
Whereas Tatum and Brown were the only ones that were drafted with the Celtics. But then if you look at Derek White, you look at Drew Holiday, you look at Porzingis, Al Horford,
Pritchard.
um, Pritchard, the rest of the team, except for a few, were traded there. Pritchard was one that was also drafted there, but the rest were primarily traded there in a perfect assembly for like a really ideal team. The reason why I would pick the Warriors is that even though they were the best scoring offense that year, they were also one of the top defenses, which no one really remembers.
Yeah.
Um, and they had Gary Payton the second on that team, who was kind of that hustle guy. And I think the Celtics would definitely keep it close because I don't think they would have the firepower to stop them. But Klay Thompson would be able to lock up at least one of them. But it would boil down to me who's taking the last shot,
Mhm.
and it would be either Kevin Durant or one of the guys on the Celtics.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant proved with the Warriors that he would make that last shot like he did against LeBron.
Yeah.
Um, where that's what makes Steph Curry so special because I think he should be the one taking the last shot, but he knows for the greater good of the team and camaraderie that he would let KD take that shot,
Yeah.
knowing that KD is fully capable of making that shot. So I think that's where um, and this is kind of a unique take. I would give the nod to the Warriors from a coaching perspective and saying Steve Kerr was a better coach than Joe Masala at the time
Mhm.
with the Celtics. Not that Masala is a bad coach at all. I think he's incredible. I just think the Warriors just were that team to me is just going to go down as one of the best teams. But I'm curious what your take is on that.
No, I went with the 2018 Warriors on this. Who you got?
So I'm glad I'm not in the wrong there.
No. I'm not saying I was right. What do I know? I remember. I remember.
Hmm.
That was a sweep. The
Yeah.
2018 Warriors were just something else to behold.
Yeah.
Top,
Again,
yeah, top three
again,
team of all time, I would say.
agreed. I don't know who else I'd put in the top though with them. You would have to put one of Jordan's years with him and Pippen
Mhm.
and Rodman. Um, you can argue one of the Heat teams with LeBron and Chris Bosh
You could
and Ray
argue.
Allen. I do admit one team that gets overlooked a lot is the Mavericks team with Dirk Nowitzki
Oh,
when he
2011
went on that
Mavs.
run.
Yeah.
The 2011 Mavs team that beat OKC with Harden, Durant, and Russell, and also beat the Lakers with Powell and Kobe, and beat the Heat with that whole arsenal that we just mentioned as a team that just purely played really cohesively well together and
Yeah.
just outplayed them. But I do admit, I think if they redo that series again and like it's on a neutral court, I don't think the Mavs would have won that series.
Interesting.
I think
Interesting.
they played really well when they had their chances at home,
Interesting.
but they
That's
still
it.
won.
Yeah. That could be definitely a conversation for later on.
The one take that I have heard that the bubble championship gets overlooked a lot as being an easy championship to win, where people actually said it was the hardest one to win.
Hmm. I like people talk about, oh, if KD didn't get injured, Toronto won a championship. Okay.
Hmm.
Toronto won. You count it, you count it, whatever. It's the same with the bubble. I think the bubble is one of the most underrated championships. I really like the bubbles championship.
Yeah, the reason why people say that one was the most underrated is because people were able to not travel, so they weren't traveling. So they were just in one location at the whole time, which came with its unique challenges. But when it came to just being focused on the game, they weren't jet lagged, they weren't home crowd advantage. There was nothing about that. It was just purely talent versus talent and like coaching first coaching, game first game.
Mhm.
So you had like peak performances from everybody. So that's where like the best of the best kind of started playing to the best of the best. Like that's why Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, LeBron, Anthony Davis, all these guys started playing out of their minds because they weren't dealing with some of the distractions or challenges that come with the game. They just were playing basketball. So it was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But um
My favorite series was the Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray back and forth.
the Jazz versus Nuggets
Oh
series,
yeah,
yeah,
I love that series.
yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking
Not
for
because they
me.
lost. That's not why I loved it.
I'm glad it wasn't for you, my friend. It was for me. It was pretty heartbreaking.
I love what you're talking about, that it was basketball at its fullest.
Yeah, and it really is. The one thing though that you gotta love about basketball is that there is somewhat of that home court advantage. And on a neutral site, there just really isn't much reason to have a regular season game, which ultimately, in my opinion, now if we can go on one last tangent before we wrap up here, um, maybe the way they fix the beginning is like the first month or two of basketball for the NBA is on a neutral site where it's just like kind of like a battle royale best of three series, and the standings of the previous season determine the standings of the next season. And then once you break into the new year, then you start having the home court games and everything. I know that that probably doesn't make sense from like a revenue standpoint, and it would not ever make it happen. But I think as a fan, I would really like that because it would kind of bring back that tournament like feel where you like go to the one location and you just kind of play like the March Madness tournament a little bit. And you could also go to various locations. So you could have like four games in one place, four games here, four games there. Um, so you could kind of include the cities that way. So they're a part of that in season tournament. But that's part of the reason why I love March Madness is because there is like home court advantage is a thing, but it's also very much just like battle of the best and um or only the playoff teams can participate because I hate when teams tank. So that could be a way to combat taking is that you can't participate in like the beginning season. For example, March Madness, like college basketball is struggling with this right now because the first like 12 games are non-conference games. So sometimes teams will play really, really competitive games. Like BYU played UConn. You know, that's a top 10 matchup. It was a great game. UConn won by 2 points. And then both teams go and play dog wash teams, which is good because their players rest up. They get the like easy win. Their players get in unison. But like fans don't like that, you know? So as a fan, if I wanted it my way, I would just say get rid of that entirely and just make it totally conference play.
Mhm.
And, you know, but that's not how the game works. And that's why the NBA is in a pickle because I think their pickle's way bigger than college basketball's pickle. But
Yeah. No, I like your idea because it reminds me of like these preseason stuff where they go to different countries to play.
mhm.
But imagine doing what you said, not even preseason, but at the beginning. Because you know they're always trying to do this marquee matchups, Warriors, Lakers, NBC night or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
No, let's all go to
Orlando.
Orlando or the Garden or TD, like the biggest stages in basketball, and you have like there's stakes to these beginning games. I like what
Hmm.
you're throwing down on there.
Yeah, and I don't know how you would incentivize players to be excited for that, but I feel like it would at least change up the game a little bit. And it has that kind of NBA Cup feel,
Mhm.
but it's not as like I think what the NBA Cup is trying to do is rectify like the conference play a little
Yeah.
bit. They're like trying to bring back like the conferences and like the importance of the conference. I just don't think it's working yet. So I feel like they need to play around with it a little more.
Well, I think one of the cool things that we talk about, that you're talking about, that is just bringing up these ideas is when's the last time, I don't have it in front of me, this is just why it's coming off the cuff. When's the last time there was a rematch opening day, opening
Mm,
night?
hmm
The ring ceremony, banners going down, you're facing your opponent you faced in July or June.
That'd be wild.
Well, I think that's a great opening night.
I do too. I think it's something worth considering.
Yeah.
Too bad the Thunder would have destroyed the Pacers because Tyrese is still recovering.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't have worked, but something
But
like that.
in every other season it would have,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Or maybe even like play the previous one or play the Western Conference final champion. I don't know. It'd be ideas.
Yeah, it's hard when like from a big market standpoint, you like there's teams that just sell.
Mhm.
So for example, like when Kawhi and the Raptors won, nobody I don't think would care to like really watch them play any other game until they got to the playoffs again.
Mhm.
Like as much as of a Jazz fan I am, and I think the Jazz are great, and the Jazz were this fun team to watch. Like, do I really think people in Portland care about watching the Jazz?
Nah.
No. But what is changing now is that certain guys that are big star players went to small market teams. Like Jokic went to Denver, Giannis went to Milwaukee, um, Shai's at the Thunder. So you have these big name players that are now playing at small market teams because now that money's the same anywhere. It's like you can go and have the same kind of success anywhere now.
Mhm.
You don't have to be in LA to be the big famous basketball player. You don't have to be in Boston to be the big famous basketball player. You could be in OKC and be the big famous basketball player, which I think is great for the league. The one thing that I have to say is amazing about the state of the league is that the champion has been different almost every year for the last, what is it, like 9 years?
Since 2020, right?
I think so. So five, right?
Mhm.
So to me, I love that aspect of it because I hate when there's a beauty of like the Warriors just dominating everybody, but there's also beauty in diversity in your champion. And I think
Mhm.
that's really cool
Yeah.
because it's just not a give me every year. I like it when it's just like as much as I hate the Patriots and the Chiefs, like you respect them winning, but no one wants to see the Chiefs win again. So it's
Mhm.
cool. Like, okay, we have the Celtics, and then we have the Thunder, and then we have the Bucks, and then we have Denver, and then we have the Lakers. It adds competition, which I think is good for the league. I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that the league has gotten right is that we just don't have this powerhouse team that's just killing everybody. It's oh, there's some equal teams and they're all trying to beat each other, which makes it fun.
Yeah. I think that's a good wrap. I think that's a good pin in what we're talking about here because that's what makes the game fun. That's what makes the game fun for us fans. And what is not this podcast besides being a fan of the game?
It's very true. I agree.
So appreciate you, Jeff, talking basketball with me. We'll talk more. And this was good. Love this
It was
game.
great. Thanks for the invite as always. Happy New Year and go Jazz.